Everyone claims that they do SRE, but most of them are just renamed system admins.
The role has definitely shifted, I would say, right? From the time of sysadmins. It's no longer about just running the scripts, it's about judgment.
The industry keeps on shifting, and the same shift even we see it right now in 2026.
It's no longer possible for a human to manually run scripts across all of these servers.
The problem space also grows, and if SREs are not able to handle it,
AI has gotten pretty good at coding, and now there's no point for us to write code by hand.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Techie Talks with Kuldeep. I'm your host Kuldeep Singh. Today we are excited to have Ankesh with us, and the topic is also very exciting. How does the SRE looks like in the era of AI? Before we start our conversation, let's hear more directly from Ankesh. Ankesh, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kuldeep. Happy to be here.
So before we start our conversation, Ankesh, could you share about yourself?
Sure. So, my name is Ankesh Khemani. I'm a founder of a company called Vibe Monitor. Before starting Vibe Monitor, I have about 15 years of experience spreading across AI, backend engineering, and DevOps. My last stint was with Atlassian, where I was a principal engineer. Yeah, that's about me.
All right. So let's talk about the SRE, right? Everyone claims that they do SRE, but most of them are just renamed system admins. So let's start. What is SRE at its core, and why did the industry realize that the traditional operation was no longer enough?
Sure. So, in the era of cloud and microservices, when a company can possibly have tens of thousands or tens of hundreds of microservices and servers, it's no longer possible for a human to manually run scripts across all of these servers to change things and keep them reliable. So SRE as a function is a bit more advanced than traditional sysadmins, where things are not just good enough with scripts. You need to have coverage over observability. You need to have automations. You need to have monitoring of all of your system's health, and even sometimes going into the application layer as well. So that's what that SRE role has transformed into, more than just a sysadmin.
Okay. And I think you have seen this transition from inside at the Atlassian as well. So why did, the SRE became, the rock star role in 2020, specifically during the COVID time? Was it more just, because Google introduced this hype, or something fundamentally changed during this period, how we build our products?
So I think it's the explosion of complexity when it comes to systems. Kubernetes, cloud native, and microservices made systems unmonitorable by humans. So we needed systems to monitor systems, and then some humans to manage these systems and to be able to see what these system monitoring systems produce. So SRE becomes famous because it provides a set of frameworks, error budgets, how to manage incidents, how to have SLAs, SLOs, and also it bridges the gap between risk management in terms of outages and also speed, so that developers can move fast without breaking things.
Mm-hmm. So you are saying like lots of the data explosion due to like the digital transformation, and then the internally how the companies needs to scale those services. They probably broke down it into microservices, and then it became like a 6,000 plus services, which were very hard to manage. And that's where the SRE came into the picture and was the right thing to do.
Yeah, overall, I would say just the explosion of things on internet and software systems in general, right? Say before 2000, the year 2000, there was no Netflix, which was powering. You would have a DVD player and you'll just have your own disc to watch a movie. But now all of the entertainment of the world is being powered by one company. Like most of it is being powered by a few handful of companies. And they are running all of this infrastructure themselves, right? They are serving all of this load from the backend, which needs now thousands of servers, tens of thousands of servers. This was not the case before the year 2000 for the most part of the world. And there are so many companies like that. There's Uber, which needs to have location tracking across so many cabs and customers. So all of this requires a lot of processing at backend, which just needs more compute, right? More infrastructure. And so this kind of complexity was not there before. So SRE came into existence because of the requirement, which is to manage such large and complex internet systems.
No, you are right. I think the industry keeps on shifting, and the same shift, even we see it right now in 2026. And SRE is also evolving again. We are nowadays hearing a lot about platform engineering. Is SRE being sold by platform engineering, or are they still two sides of the same coin?
So, in Atlassian, I've seen this, kind of transition as well. People are talking more about platform engineering rather than just site reliability engineering, because SREs are responsible for managing all of this infra. It's not just reliability that they are managing, right? They are now also responsible for cost optimization, for scaling it to the right level, for having just like overall ownership of the platform. And it is not just limited to possibly your infrastructure layer. In some cases, it is also responsible for CI/CD pipelines. Now, that is
Mhm.
supporting your internal developers, right? That's not part of your hosting solution, the site itself, but enabling your internal developers. So it's, yeah, in a way, your internal developer platform that they are kind of supporting, right? So the entire build and then deployment and then running them and then monitoring them, all of this is now kind of being clubbed into platform engineering.
Mhm. Okay. And I think it might be again, right, the expectation, because the expectation might be at that moment was just from the infrastructure side. But now they are expected to contribute even in the release process and also, the maintaining of that process. And also one thing which you mentioned, and the trend is also very clear, is the FinOps. So the SREs are now being handed, these bill, and they are expected to take care of it also. Do you think that's the right expectation, or we are just overburdening them?
Yeah. So I think, it depends on organization to organization, what kind of um, tools you have given them. Because in order to manage the FinOps, let me first define what FinOps is, right? So the financial side of operating this very large technical systems, right? So what would the most easiest thing if you don't have to worry about finance? You could just bring up thousands, tens of thousands of servers, right? So your service will never have a constraint on CPU or memory or any kind of resource. But that's not financially prudent. The company would not be making any profits in that case, right? So you obviously need to keep a control on cost and always keep a monitor on whether your infrastructure is right sized, and the costs are not ballooning up unnecessary. So any kind of cost increase needs to be rational, and that is what the entire exercise of FinOps is. And I think it's a shared responsibility between the platform team and the development domain engineering teams, because the domain teams are the ones who actually know what the business needs. The platform teams cannot dictate terms on how much you can actually have your cost rising up or down. But at the same time, if there is some kind of anomaly in the increase, or if the stated budget for the year for the particular organization, development organization or team is getting increased, so the platform team can definitely monitor those things, have reports generated and surface to leadership. So there is a check and balance on these costs, and it's not the CTO getting annual surprise that, hey, we had planned for only X million and suddenly it's 10 times that.
No, correct. And I think this is the also another trend which we see. Of course, SRE is the one who are helping them, but related to the process and all, they helps you in identifying. But it is again, the business alignment is needed. All right. So moving towards the favorite thing, AI and the Gen AI, and specifically because in the past you have worked also as a data scientist. So before I ask how does it reflect on the SRE side, are you excited about the Gen AI changes, specifically how they are coming, and it has really transformed the software development lifecycle in general?
Yes, it's a very exciting time, Kuldeep. Honestly, um, this is an area that personally I've been working in generative AI and the intersection with ops over the last many years at Atlassian and even before that. So yeah, I'm very excited about what GenAI can do. In general, AI in ops has been useful even in past because machines can process much more data much faster than humans. And when there is a fire, especially, or if there is a lot of data being generated by these systems, and you need to make some kind of sense to it, you cannot have a human scroll over Excel and find out problems in that, right in these numbers. Humans are not really good with that, to be honest. So we have already always needed some kind of AI and systems to observe anomalies, to see patterns in the data which is coming out of these ops processes. But now with Gen AI, I think the capabilities have expanded much more. There's a step change in what we can do compared to what we could do, say, 3, 4 years back.
In any story or any clear difference which you would like to share where the Gen AI has changed the day-to-day work of an SRE comparing to the olden era?
Yeah, I think both sides, right? So there is the developer side and there's the SRE/platform engineer side. Um, I think both sides can do much more now than what they could do before the Gen AI. So say there's an incident, right? Something is
Hmm.
broken, and either it gets reported by customers or your monitoring, kind of reports it. Maybe the team, which has the domain team, gets some alerts, but sometimes even the SRE would get an alert if there is some kind of infrastructure level metrics firing some alarm or alert. And sometimes both of these happen at the same time. So, say SREs were earlier, restricted to infra level issues. So they would be able to debug until the point that they can find which machines have a problem, what is the exact problem. But that's about it. After that, they will have to bring in a developer to identify the root cause. If it's not an infra level cause, and say restarting the service is not solving the problem, just scaling up is not solving the problem, right? What to do then? You have to bring in the domain teams, right? And then the domain teams will debug, find out if there is a code issue. Maybe there is some kind of change which has happened in some microservice which is causing a problem. Then that would become a problem, like that SREs would be dependent on the developers. But now with Gen AI can actually read code. It can read through millions of lines of code much faster than what that developer or a group of developers across multiple teams would. And it can read code across microservices and tell the SRE where exactly the problem is. So they can directly, page the responsible team instead of having to find a needle in a haystack, and that would resolve the incident much faster. So this kind of thing brings platform engineers again, to the driving seat of managing and resolving an incident, because you're not completely dependent on a developer. You have evidence being created by these generative AI tools which can tell you where exactly the problem is, and there's logs which it can read. There's code which it can read. It can analyze metrics. It will give you very reasonable, explainable reasons why this could be the problem, and then you can take that and you can page that particular dev team and get it resolved very fast. On the other hand,
Yeah.
I think developers, in some organizations, uh, the operations functions are also largely managed by developers themselves. There is a culture of you build it, you run it. As you know, Atlassian was very much of this kind as well, and where developers were themselves responsible for managing and scaling up and scaling down their own services. The paved pathway was being generated by platform engineers who would make these libraries and tooling, which would make it much easier for developers to do, and also guardrails so that they won't fall off into the abyss, but developers were running the systems essentially. So in that case also, I think it is very much useful that a developer, when they get paged on their service, these GenAI systems can find out if some other service, which can be upstream service, is what has broken and because of which your service is breaking. You don't need to manually go through logs and hop through multiple teams and calls and spend hours debugging where the problem started. The GenAI technology can read through code, logs, metrics, go through service dependency graphs and find out exactly where the problem is. It can also identify if it's an infra-level problem, right? So then you could ask your SRE or platform engineer counterpart to help you with that as well. So I think it has enabled both the sides much more than what they were earlier, and overall MTTR, mean time to resolution, also goes down because of that. So overall a win-win, I would say.
Mhm. No, definitely. And I think scaling is the problem which they need to handle, because now this power arc, even with the developers, so they are like earlier might be they were shipping like on a week basis. Now they are even shipping it in a day or in an hour. So which means, the problem space also grows. And if SREs are not able to handle it, they will be like things will be somewhere like broken, and then you don't know who to reach out or how to fix it quickly so that the impact can be reduced.
100%. Yeah. The speed of shipping is increasing rapidly. So I think the reliability also needs to keep up with it. And the tooling also needs to keep up with it.
So now let's talk about, right? We know what an SRE needs from the skill set. They need to be expert in the cloud. They need to be expert in the automation. They should know, like, the Kubernetes. Those were like, I would say like the olden age skill set. In the AI age skill set, what are those which will matter them most and they must learn it?
Yeah. So I think generalists are needed much more now than ever, because if you know just your own craft, you will not be able to reason when the AI goes off the rail. Say, assuming that you are using these AI systems, right? Uh, Along the investigation of this AI, it will give you information related to code, related to infrastructure. But if you're not able to understand that, you will still be dependent on someone else. So a basic level knowledge of all of the other systems, say the programming language, what kind of failure modes are there, your operating system, your database, all of those are still very essential. But now knowing them gives you much more rewards. I would say earlier you would still be dependent on, say, a subject matter expert for a deep dive. Here, the AI can do the deep dive for you, but you still need to make a sense of whether what the AI is coming up with as a rationale is correct or not. So you need to double check, what they are saying. There's also the skill of how to prompt the AI, right? So, when you are describing a problem to a human, you can go about, say something you say, and they come back with a cross question. Hey, it's not clear. But when talking to AI, if you do that, it takes longer because the AI can probably just take what you say and go off in a direction which is, very wrong, and waste a lot of tokens and time, precious time, during these incidents. So it is very important how you prompt these systems, describe the problem with as much detail as possible. So that's something I would say. I mean, there are books that you can read, but I think it also comes from practice.
No, you are right, and that's why, like, the Google established the SRE role as very critical, because if this role is not able to keep up with the industry, they will never be able to make the system which are resilient. Hence, the continuous upskilling is really required, and specifically on the Gen AI, as we see, like, daily there are like new things, etc. And if we are not able to keep up to date, maybe within 2 weeks we see, hey, we are like, just left behind.
Yeah, that's true. Things keep changing. There's a new model every week, every month. So I think things are changing very rapidly, but I'm sure soon there will be some kind of stabilization. We are going through a period of rapid change. but I believe things will stabilize, and it will become clear what patterns are working well and what are not. So I think we just need to keep learning for now, and yeah, that's all we can do.
Mm. Yeah. So now, tell me one more thing, which is also, the AI related, because nowadays AI can write a script, even monitor a dashboard. There are like, the questions coming more from the entry level people. Hey, if this entry level SRE role is dead, why do I need to, upskill in this if the industry doesn't need junior engineer at all?
See, I'll be honest. It's always been difficult, for young people who are entering any new field, right? You work super hard. You are paid lower than others, and then you are, struggling with the skill set as well, like because you are still new and you're learning new things every day. On one side, it's more difficult now because companies are opting for more senior engineers because they think that now a senior engineer can do the job of probably three average or new engineers. So that cost advantage that junior engineers had earlier, that is kind of diluting. But at the same time, I think there is an advantage to people entering the field now because you don't have any baggage, right? You are getting into the field when this new technology is there, and you are at the same level playing field with the seniors because you can learn these things as fresh. And Of course, there's the traditional things to learn, and it'll take you some time. But I would say it's still worth learning. It's still worth this field is still worth getting into. And you cannot be a senior engineer until you start from a junior, right? So that is the thing as well.
No, of course. And I think it is also, the relevant as, the entry level are getting difficult. It is also your time to, upskill yourself so that you can be still relevant from the industry as well as, from the skill set perspective.
Absolutely. And the role has definitely shifted, I would say, right? From the time of sysadmins. It's no longer about just running the scripts, it's about judgment. So while it takes time to build that judgment, I would say it's definitely worth it because the role has kind of up leveled. All roles have, even software engineering development has up leveled. So rather than, the entry bar is no longer that can you write a shell script, right? It's about whether you can identify one wrong thing from the right one, and that judgment is what differentiates, different people, even at the entry level now.
Mhm. Cool. So now we are entering towards the end of the session. What is, the one or two pieces of advice you will give to the audience to stay relevant as we head towards like 2030 or so?
Well, a lot of people, think that, hey, AI is not writing good code, and no, we should have humans writing code. I don't believe in that. I think AI has gotten pretty good at coding, and now there's no point for us to write code by hand. At my company, we rarely write any code by hand. But that doesn't mean that you should not know how it works or not know how to do it. You should definitely know that so that you can uh, understand when it's making some mistakes. And different kind of companies are still in their journey of adopting AI written code. So you got to know how to code as well. But at the same time, one thing that is still in the realm of humans is about high level architecture and purpose fitting an architecture for the domain and for the problems you're trying to solve, for the size of the company or team there is. All of those things, of course, AI can help you with it, but you got to provide the right context to them, right? So translating that context from business terms to technical terms, I think that is still, uh, there's still some value to it. So I think people should continue to understand the business better and see how they can translate that to technical terms or just be plain English, I would say, in order to have AI design the best systems and write the best code for you.
No, you are absolutely correct. And so it is like, we can't really say like hey, AI is not perfect because AI is not perfect. And that's why it is named as the artificial intelligence and not, the human intelligence. But the gap between, how much is the error which our system can sustain is decreasing. And as the models keep on changing and the new investment keep on happening by these giants in this space, I'm sure that gap will be sooner reduced to extent like it will feel like a human is doing all these tasks, which at one time, an expert engineer used to give.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. No, very powerful insights. And I think you really delved into what does, the SRE should be doing, what they need to learn also in the AI age, and how also, the ecosystem, which is not impacting, how we develop the application, but how also we deploy and, the sustain these applications. I know like these changes really from the SRE point of view really hits at the day two operation. So that's where like, the AI might take some time because still it is figuring out the things for what is really required for the day zero and the day one operations. So it might take time, but I think at the speed at which it is evolving, I think the change which we would have expected will take like 3 years. Now I'm hoping it will be like in 3 months. So if we again talk in next like 3 months, there might be like a significant change within this ecosystem as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very exciting to keep up with it and, see what is happening. I'm sure there will always be some gaps that will be there in these systems because there's a lot of complexity we don't realize, but there's a lot of complexity that engineers handle in their day-to-day job. And when AI comes and automates one part of it, we think, oh, all of the things will be automated. But there are so many things that humans handle, and I think as AI gets better at one by one of these each of these things, I think the overall bottleneck moves from one place to another, and humans need to be just better at the next bottleneck.
Sure. Thanks, Ankesh, for joining us and sharing these insights.
Thanks for having me, Kuldeep. Thank you so much.
All right. That's it for this episode of Techie Talks with Kuldeep. But the SRE mission still remains the same. Keep the system running, even if the code is being generated mostly by the AI. There will be some people who needs to still require these system up and running. So keep learning and keep innovating. Thank you for watching.